Okay, we're recording, Kim. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'd like to call to order this May 6th public hearing and public work session action meeting of the Mahwah Board of Education. Mr. Bleeker, would you please take roll call?
Yes, Mr. Kizmarski.
Here.
Ms. Conoco.
Oh,
She's muted.
Ms. Conoco is
I
muted.
just unmuted.
Okay.
Here.
Dr. Morthy.
Here.
Ms. Saccone.
Here.
Mr. Copland.
Here.
Mr. De Silva.
Here.
Mr. Denise.
Here.
Mr. Gallo.
Here.
And Ms. Barron.
Here. Adequate notice of agenda of this meeting has been provided to the record specifying the Mahwah Board of Education will meet on May 6, 2020 in the administrative office of 6 Tree Ridge Road, Mahwah, New Jersey. A copy was filed with the township clerk. But a little attachment, due to the COVID-19 health crisis, this meeting of the Mahwah Board of Education is not physically open to the public. This is to ensure we follow best practices for social distancing. Our board meeting is being live streamed to the public via Zoom. During the meeting, an announcement will be made for any member of the public who wishes to participate. At that time, members of the public can participate through the chat feature of Zoom. All participants must provide their name and address, and your comment and question will be included in the board's public record of the meeting, just as it would for a standard board meeting. Could everyone please rise for a salute to the flag? Mr. De Silva, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, boy.
Thank you.
We really got to
Oh,
work on
boy.
that, guys. Yeah, we need to,
We have to have a practice session. Dr. Schoen, do you have a report for us this evening?
I do. Just bear with me. I'd like to start off this evening by publicly celebrating many of our staff members. Friday, May 1st was Principal Appreciation Day. It was an opportunity for all of us to celebrate our principals. We thank our principals for all of the hats they wear: leader, teacher, counselor, mediator, building manager, colleague, and friend. Their job changes each day, and we're appreciative that they meet each challenge head on and support those who need them along the way. We're very fortunate to have our principals as members of our team. We thank them for all they do. Yesterday, May 5th, was National Teacher Appreciation Day. On behalf certainly of our Board of Education members, our administrators, students, and parents, we want to thank our teachers for all their work. During these unprecedented times of remote instruction and in all the days prior, we sincerely thank our teachers for always doing the best for our students. In preparation for this day, we asked some of our students, parents, and administrative team members to share their thoughts of appreciation for all that our teachers do. A sincere thank you is extended to Mr. Fair for requesting the individual videos from our staff, parents, and students, and creating the video we shared with our staff on Monday. If you haven't seen the video yet, you can view it on our website under the section entitled Headlines and Features. It's really awesome. And today is School Nurses Day. On this day, we want to take the moment to thank our professionals that keep us healthy and safe, staff and students alike. Our schools would not be able to function without you, and we thank you for all that you've done and continue to do to take care of and educate the whole child. Happy School Nurses Day. Moving on to another topic, not so celebratory. On Monday afternoon, I emailed our staff and our families Governor Murphy's announcement that all New Jersey schools will be physically closed for the remaining part of the 2019-20 school year. Prior to May 15th, we will be developing and sharing with you an FAQ document which will list pertinent information relative to school closeout procedures for both students and staff members. This document will also answer questions related to our transition to the 2021 school year and guidance on summer school programming. Until then, our phase 3 of instruction will continue. On another topic, on tonight's agenda, Resolution 14V on our agenda this evening is related to the Mahwah High School gymnasium signage. A request was initiated by Mr. Pascal and Mr. Pelletier to install lettering on the high school main gymnasium indicating its location to visitors. The gymnasium at Mahwah High School currently has a small plaque on the front of the gymnasium indicating the dedication in Coach John Carty's memory in 1992. Unfortunately, the sign is only visible if you're at the doorway and does not serve as a clear indication of the gymnasium's location from afar or the dedication to Coach Carty's memory. John Carty was a teacher and coach in the Mahwah School District from 1968 to 1990. In addition to being a physical education teacher at Ramapo Ridge Middle School, Mr. Carty became a revered and beloved coach at Mahwah High School while serving as the head basketball coach, where he would carve out his legacy for more than 2 decades. The Mahwah Board of Education held John Carty Day at Mahwah High School on January 11, 1992. The gymnasium was dedicated to the memory of Coach Carty on that day. The resolution on the agenda this evening is requesting board approval to install more prominent signage, which would read, John F. Carty Gymnasium, home of the Thunderbirds. And finally, I sent out an email last week to our staff and parents regarding our strategic planning meetings. Our next strategic planning meetings will continue to build on the work that we've already completed as we craft goal statements around the areas we have identified as our focus areas based on the input we received during our first 2 strategic meetings. This part of this work will help guide our administration in developing an action plan, which will be specific to our school district programs, resources, timelines, and measures our success for each goal. Based on the input we received, we'll be focusing on 4 areas: facilities, curriculum and instruction, social emotional learning, health and wellness, and community connections. In order to hold more productive meetings, allowing the opportunity for input from all participants, we have decided to hold 4 separate virtual meetings so that each meeting can focus on one of 4 goal areas. There'll be an opportunity to share your input through a chat forum on our district website under the tab for strategic planning. Meeting dates are May 19th for facilities, May 19th from 6 to 7 for facilities, from 7 to 8 for social emotional learning, on May 28th from 6 to 7 p.m. for curriculum instruction, and on May 28th as well from 7 to 8 for community connections. If you did not participate in meetings number 1 or number 2, you can fully contribute to the discussion, which will ultimately lead us to identifying the 4 goal statements that we'll develop in meeting 3. Information about the upcoming meetings, as well as an opportunity to RSVP about any of the meetings, can be found on our website under strategic planning. That's all I have tonight, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question, Lauren?
Of course.
This FAQ that's going to be coming out by the 15th, will it be addressing anything having to do with any of the graduations, 8th or senior year, or yearbook distribution, or other type of year-end things that, while very disappointing that the year's ending like this?
We were
Obviously,
talking about that,
Ben.
Ben. I anticipate that there will be separate communication from Mr. Pascal in regard to that, specific to the grade level that it concerns.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Kyle, you have a report for us this evening.
Yes, I do. Tonight is one of the agenda items. Agenda 14A is the resolution to adopt the 2021 school budget. As I had reported in previous meetings, we introduced our preliminary budget to the county office and to the board in March. It has gone through approvals at the county level, approved successfully. We've done 2 presentations already. Tonight is going to be a summary of those previous 2 presentations. And with tonight's resolution on the agenda, the 2021 budget will be set for next year. With that, just one moment, I'm going to share the screen and go through the budget presentation. Again, these slides are going to be a summary of the presentations that have already been done. Okay. Okay. For the 2021 budget for next year, as I had reported in one of our first meetings, there is a total revenue for next year's budget of $73,236,341. The sources of this revenue are several. The major categories for them is the tax levy for next year, $66,551,945. We have state aid projected at $3,431,000. other revenue of 205, a fund balance from unexpended funds from prior year of 2,348,000, and special revenue, which are any federal grants and state grants that we receive, of 699,000. Okay. As far as the tax impact for the taxpayers of Mahwah, we use the tax levy number that I shared in the previous slide, as well as the net valuation taxable that I received from the tax assessor's office. For the 2020 year, that number is $5,781,000,000. We also use the average value of home to show what the tax impact is per homeowner. For 2020 year, that tax impact is anticipated to be $1,138.60 for every $100,000 of value for a home. It represents about a $24.80 increase from prior year. And for the average home, again, of $477,789, it represents a tax impact of $5,440, and it's a $118 increase from the prior year. Another factor into the budget that I had previously reported, but it is worth stating again, is our enrollment. Our enrollment, we take a look at our October enrollment for each year and compare that historically to get a projection for the following year. For October 2019, we had a total enrollment across the district of 2,832 students. It's a very slight decrease of 8 students from the prior year. And worth noting is we typically see a drop in enrollment from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. The class size in total usually does drop because we have students who attend a high school out of district, either a private school or one of the county schools. This past year, we saw our lowest drop in that number in the past 10 years of only 2% loss of students from the 8th grade into 9th grade. Going into some of the major areas of the budget, debt service. This is the area of the budget where we make principal and interest payments for any bonds that have been previously approved by the taxpayers. Currently, we have 2 bonds that are outstanding that we're paying off. For the 2021 year, we have principal and interest payments scheduled of $1,556,000. These bonds were approved in 2002 and 2003, were refinanced in 2009 and 2011 respectively, and will be retiring in the next 4 to 5 years. For special revenue, we have, as I stated previously, this is where our grants for federal and state money are collected and accounted for. Federal money is primarily IDEA and ESSA. Those are our Title I, Title II funds. Non-public funds from the state that we receive, we are the pass-through for any non-public schools that are within the township. Funds for the state that was allocated to them. Some funds for textbooks, nursing services, technology pass through us. We have a budget for 2021 of $17,100 and a total special revenue budget of $699,000. Out of district costs, we have approximately 110 students who currently attend a tuition-based program outside of Mahwah. This counts or includes approximately 60 special ed students and about 50 regular ed students who attend Bergen County Technical Schools, high school age students, I should mention, Bergen County Technical Schools and vocational schools, as well as Bergen County Academies. For the 2020 year, for the special ed students and regular ed students that attend an out-of-district school, we have a budget of about $5.5 million, and transportation costs to support this as well of just over $2 million. That's in addition to the $5.5 million. Employee benefits is another large category that makes up our budget. These are any contractual benefits for health, prescription, and dental, all that are offered to eligible Mahwah employees, workman's comp and Social Security, tuition reimbursement, and payment for sick time when an employee retires. For the 2021 year, this category represents about 15.5% of the total budget, or a little bit over $11 million. For staffing, we have a budget, anticipated budget for next year of $36,800,000 allocated for for salaries. It's about 52% of the total budget. District-wide, it represents approximately 481 staff. Those staff are from 3 different collective bargaining associations that we have in district. The Mahwah Educators Association, which covers our teachers, custodians, maintenance, nurses, and bus drivers. The Mahwah and secretaries. The Mahwah Administrators Association for our principals and assistant principals, and the Mahwah Supervisors Association for our supervisors. Outside of that, we have some staff that are not part of collective bargaining associations. Those are any independent staff and paraprofessionals. Staffing, each year we follow a process to look at staffing and evaluate it from one year to the next, examined and budgeted to address the educational, curricular, and enrollment needs of the district in all areas as well as instructional and support. For the 2021 year, we do have a net increase of 1.7 staff for next year. I had mentioned in an email to the board, this is a change from my previous slide where it's at 0.07. There was an error with that I had reported to the board and explained. The true number is 1.7 increase for next year. That concludes the summary for the 2021 budget for next year. I do want to take a quick moment just to thank all the different groups and people that did play a part in developing the budget, the Finance and Facility Committee of the board, Central Office Administration, principals and supervisors, Child Study Team, of course, with all their input for anticipated out-of-district costs, support staff throughout the school, and of course, those in the business office. With that, any questions from the board?
Kyle, I have a question.
Prima, yes.
Yeah. So with the current situation and what's going on with the state budgets, do we anticipate any changes to our budget or any decrease in state funding, anything like that?
We've been following that very closely.
Okay.
To date, there hasn't been anything from from the state, from Trenton, or from my colleagues in our conversations that I've had to indicate that right now there is going to be an increase. I'm sorry, any decrease from what they reported to us. If one does come, we would address it then. So it's not to say that it's not going to happen, but to date, we haven't heard of anything official.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any others questions? Okay, with that, I'm going to turn off sharing the screen. Stop sharing. And the one other item for the my report that I would like to mention, it's item 14K on the agenda. It relates to the first reading of a refunding school bond ordinance. I just want to give a small amount of background. As I mentioned during the budget presentation just now, we do have 2 bonds that are currently outstanding. One of them was refinanced in 2010. That bond, the way that it was structured, it is available to be refinanced again now if market conditions allow. We are held to only refinancing if we could achieve a 3% net present value savings or greater. And working with our finance advisors, they feel that even with some of the fluctuations that have been in the market lately, we can achieve that savings, and now is the time when that bond is up to be refinanced. So we are going to be looking at that. This resolution tonight is a first step towards doing so, and if so, that would be an impact to the taxpayers, reducing their tax levy that they would owe on that bond for the remaining years of it. Again, as more information comes out, I'll certainly be sharing it, but that is the purpose for the resolution on tonight's agenda.
Thank you.
Kyle, could you just go through the next steps in the process so the board's aware of what action may be coming at them?
Sure. The next couple steps is after tonight's approval, we'll be sending this over to our bond counsel, Mr. Salamini, as well as Phoenix Advisors, who's our financial advisor. They'll then take this, market it, and put it out for interest from anybody who may want to pick up the remaining payments on the bond. If successful, we would then enter into agreement to essentially have them pay this bond off for us, and we'd enter into agreement to make payments to them. Nothing that would extend the current life of the bond. It would still maintain within this life of the bond. Just the payments would be less than the current schedule.
But
And we
board action
anticipate-
will be required to finalize this. After we have interested bids and it makes financial sense, you'll come back to the board with a resolution saying, we're going to go to Acme Finance and we're going to save some money.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I do want to just make a quick mention, part of us doing this bond refunding, we also do have to, the township, Mr. Kovalchek, CFO for the township, has to do a few things on his end. He's been great to work with the past couple times. He's relatively new to the township. It's been great working with him. And I do want to take a moment just to thank him for his end and what he's doing to help us with this as
Thank you, Kyle, very much.
Yep, thank you.
Let's see, Mr. Fair, do you have something for us this evening?
Sure. Kyle, you don't want to say hello to your wife? To say hi, wave?
I'm sure we'll talk when we get home. Hello, Brielle. Hello, kids, in case the kids are there too. Hello.
I mean, you did a nice job, so thank you. The first is agenda item 15A. We have a retirement for Jan Pim. Jan Pim currently serves as special education teacher at Joyce Kilmer School. She's been an important part of our school community. In speaking with the building principal and assistant principal, they've shared that every day Jan comes in with a smile and keeps that same positivity consistent all day long. Jan makes lasting connections with her students and colleagues. She is described as thoughtful, optimistic, and a pleasure to collaborate with. In Jan's letter of retirement, she shared that she counts herself blessed for having had the opportunity to work in a district she has been so proud to be a part of. And we announced Jan's retirement with similar pride in her work. We wish Jan all the best. And just the second piece is I just want to congratulate all the non-tenured staff members that we are recommending to the board for renewal for the 2020-2021 school year. That's it. Right.
Thank you very much. Okay, my report for this evening. I just hope that everyone is healthy out there and safe. And I just want to, as a matter of note, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the community that as with any school closure, our school facilities are also closed to the public. So that includes our fields, parking lots, basketball courts, and any facility located on our property. So until we receive further information to the contrary, these facilities will remain closed. That's all that I have. Do we have any board committee reports? Yes, Dr. Marthy.
On behalf of instruction and curriculum, I spoke with Dr. DeToro today at length, and we thought it was important at this juncture to have Dr. DeToro do a little presentation about our going into phase 3 at this point. Also talk about some survey results of the survey that was sent out. So I'm gonna allow Dr. DeToro to take some time on behalf of instructional and curriculum.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. DeToro.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to just, I know that there's been letters that have been sent out since back in February. That's when all this started. I know it seems like forever ago, but February 26th is when we started sending out information specific to this situation and possible closure. So just give me a couple minutes and I'll walk you through the different stages of this process, just so we can understand how we got to where we are right now. So going back, phase 1, we engaged in phase 1 back in mid-March. That phase was 2 weeks long. That was when the closure initially happened. And if everyone remembers correctly, there was no specific timeline. It was always going in 2-week increments. So we were tasked with preparing for a closure of around 2 weeks. Going into that phase, we were committed to really just trying to keep what we already have in place, really utilizing the information that was already taught, and really focus on reinforcing that information, remediating, and then extending where it's appropriate. This was a huge shift going from that brick and mortar experience to the virtual environment. So during that time, we had a number of different professional development sessions to support our teachers while they were working extremely hard with their colleagues to prepare to support our students in a remote setting. Again, that happened for 2 weeks. A lot of the communication and interaction that took place during that time was really through Google Classroom, email correspondence, and really content that was pushed out by the teachers for the students to use as they were doing independent work. That took place from mid-March till about March 27th. March 30th is when phase 2 began. Now, the difference between phase 1 and phase 2, again, we were extended 2 more weeks. We felt it was very important to start to expose the students to new content. Again, not knowing where this was going to go in the time frame that we had in front of us, we felt it was important because we didn't want the students to have that much time away from new content. We wanted to start to incrementally chop away at our coursework and have a gradual progression forward in a logical way. Again, understanding that we're in a new virtual world for everyone, students, teachers, and parents. We really shared with the staff that we have to do this in a very thoughtful way for all parties involved. So at that time, they started looking at their curriculum and started to take those big themes and begin to expose our students to new content. During that time as well, we started to step into live interaction and live instruction, and we identified Zoom as our platform. We shared with our curriculum, our instructional committee, all the different processes that we took in vetting the different programs that were appropriate. We felt as though Zoom allowed us to do this in a safe space. We know that there's been some media along the lines of the security of that platform. Ruth Davis and Carlos did a really nice job in identifying different protocols that the teachers take in initiating and inviting the students to meetings, the different settings that they need to set to ensure that the people who are in the meetings are their students, and also the communication that takes place within those meetings. So as the media starts to push out the different protocols that be in place, I'm happy to say that these are all the different supports and trainings that Ruth has done with all of our schools and all of our staff, and sent out different cheat sheets for them to utilize while they're planning those different sessions. So again, that was phase 2, to get everyone exposed to that live interaction. Again, that was 2 weeks. That took place from March 30th to April 14th. Again, spring break was in between those weeks. During that time as well, we felt it was extremely important, because this was a new environment, to survey all the stakeholders that were involved. I'm happy to report we had great feedback from the surveys that we sent out. We sent out surveys to the students, 6 through 12, parents, K through 12, teachers, and our paraprofessionals. We felt like we wanted to get all the voices at the table to get an understanding of what's going well and what are some things that we need to reconsider. I'm happy to say that we had close to 400 students respond. We had 684 parents respond, which I was very, very happy about. Great cross-section between the K-5 grade levels. We had 225 teachers respond and 71 paraprofessionals. So all in all, we had about over 1,300 responses to really guide and inform our instruction. With that information, we also partnered with a number of districts in Bergen County in every phase and the transition into new phases. And what we do with all of our other districts, whether it's Ridgewood, Ramsey, Upper Saddle River, and many more, we utilize them as great resources to say, what are you guys currently doing? What's working for you? And how are you supporting, most importantly, the students and staff in these very unique times? I'm happy to say that we're in lockstep with the districts that I cited. So we utilize that information, and we also utilize the feedback from the surveys. In the surveys, there was a lot of positive feedback of the efforts that our teachers were putting in with making this transition as digestible as possible the supports and work that they're doing. The students were very appreciative of what their teachers were doing. The parents, I'm very grateful for what they shared. A lot of it was positive, specific to the teachers reaching out, whether it's through phone call, email, whatever it may be, to check on the students. Same thing with the administrators. And the staff was also very positive along the lines of the support that they received in transitioning into these times. So that was the positive side of it. The things that we really focused on to really strengthen our phase 3 experience was the request to increase those live experiences. And that request was present with the parents, with the students. A number of the teachers shared that they've had positive experience in that setting. But on the flip side, the teachers also shared that they needed more support in making sure that those experiences were effective and run in the appropriate fashion. So not only did we layer that into our phase 3, we also layered in more professional development for the people who are going to be putting that into practice. Another piece of concern that was shared, and rightfully so, was from the parents, what are we going to do when the students come back? How are we going to support them? Because as we all know, as wonderful of a job that everyone's doing right now, it does not parallel a brick and mortar experience. And that doesn't take away anything from the effort that everyone's putting in, students, staff, and parents. But we all know that things happen differently in that brick and mortar setting. So obviously that's at the forefront of our minds as administrative team. Obviously the teachers are very focused on that. Going into phase 3, we really worked on reframing what access looked like. That's specific to our Zoom, and instructional decision making. What that means is at the time that we transitioned into phase 3, that was April 27th. No decision was made at that time. We just knew that we were out until May 15th. So we tried to expect the worst, which is going all the way till the end of the year, and hoping for the best, coming back sooner. I'm glad we did plan that way, because at that time, going into phase 3, the supervisors, the administrative team, and the teachers came together and they decided to really identify those major and crucial themes in the curriculum to ensure that the students can successfully complete the year and transition to the next year. Now, that's not where we stop. Obviously, when we welcome them back, whenever that is, we have to be very thoughtful with a reentry plan. That reentry plan is not only just with the academics, that's with the social side as well. And Dr. Morthy and I were talking about that today, and I'll get into that in a second. But if I could just focus on the instructional piece, please know that when the students come back, we're going to make sure that we're supporting them wherever they are and creating plans to get them to incrementally get back to where we feel that they should be. That is not, we're not going to be jamming things down their throat to say, you need to get back because we weren't here. Last year, the kids were in this space. We have to have logical expectations. And with that, as a collective group, we'll make decisions together. Obviously, we have all the experts in the classroom with our teachers. We have our administrators and supervisors that we're going to work together to make sure that this is a logical plan for all those involved. So we have the same concerns that the parents have along the lines of welcoming our students back into that brick and mortar experience and getting them back incrementally, and I use that very purposefully, to where we need them to be. But I am extremely proud and confident about what we're doing right now along lines of maintenance and progression forward of what we're doing in the meantime. Along the lines of all the information sharing and things like that, I know we pushed this out before, and I'm going to say it again for all those involved. Please don't hesitate to go to our district website. On our district website, under the public health related school closure, we have been doing our very best to keep that up to date on a daily, if not weekly basis, with all the communications that we've been sending out. That's the first tab. General information to really support our community, because we know these are unprecedented times. And even though we're a school, we feel as though we're also a platform to get information out to support our families, whether that's just well-being and balance, all the way down to how to talk to your children, information along the lines of social distancing. And then, you know, we felt it was important to also provide to our parents, because we're all in this together, maybe some activities that they can do at home to have a healthy balance between this remote learning and family time. If you continue to go down on that website, you'll see the elementary learning plan and middle school and high school learning plan. Obviously, all those tabs have important information specific to those grade level bands. We have something that we build on a daily basis, which is something that the state requires, which is our health-related school closure syllabus. It is, I think it's up to 25 or 26 pages now, of all of the different protocols that we've put into place, going from the instructional side to how we're managing our free and reduced lunch procedures, to our different related services, and much, much more. So if you haven't been there recently, I strongly recommend you go. And last but not least, and again, this is something that Dr. Murthy and I were talking, I would be remiss not to say. Obviously, I'm the Director of Curriculum Instruction, but as a collective team in central office and administrative team, we work together to make sure that we're giving a comprehensive experience to our students. And we would be remiss not to share, there's an academic side to this, and there's a connection side to this. The connection's happening through that remote learning, but there's also needs to be that personal connection that our students really need and our teachers really need in this time. So, you know, there are a number of activities, and I can't even, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to share with you a couple things. At the high school level, our community problem solvers, which is an absolutely wonderful event, every single week they come on and they do virtual story time for our young kids. It's a beautiful experience. It's our high school kids doing it. Mr. Saputsky and the high school team put it together. It happens every single week, and even my children have an opportunity to see it. It's an example of trying to make that connection more than just pushing out math assignments and reading tasks. Miss Amato every week does yoga exercises with students and staff. Obviously, it's virtual. At the high school level, Miss Torino just had a mindfulness experience or training with the students, teaching them how to decompress through all the different stresses that happen today. Our elementary teachers are doing virtual read alouds and much, much more. And something that I absolutely love, and if you're following us on Twitter, Mr. Fair is doing a great job of pushing this content out. All of our schools are doing those feel-good videos that have the teachers telling our students how much we miss them. It's giving them face time outside of that instructional time. It's on our Twitter feed. We try to put it in every spot possible. I know the principals are pushing out individualized messages. I just watched Mr. Corey have a one-on-one with his children today during the middle school assignments, announcements. So there are a lot of different layers that we're trying to do to make this digital world as human and as connected as humanly possible. So I know that was long-winded. There's so many different layers to this experience. I'm sure that there's a lot of other information that I can share, but I really tried to give you that bird's eye view as obviously the leaders of our district. I know a lot of people are probably asking you questions. We're doing our very best to push out as much content and information as humanly possible to make sure that everybody is comfortable as best as possible in this time. But please know that obviously we're very, very proud of the work that we're doing, and we continue to collaborate with surrounding districts and feel confident in our decisions because they really marry well with those surrounding districts. This is going to be an ongoing process, and we have, I believe we're 7 weeks in now, and we have a number of weeks left. So please know that this is going to be an ongoing process, and we're grateful for all the people involved in making this as effective as it's been.
Thanks, Dr. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
No, just thanking him very much. That was very detailed and really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all that you're doing.
Kim, I just wanted to follow up on two things following what Dr. DeToro said. Number one, I just want to thank him, his entire team, supervisors, everybody who is thinking, who are thinking ahead, who've already put plans in place. I mean, I think we're all as a board very fortunate and feel very lucky to have such a strong team in place and responsive to the situation. Number two, one thing that we spoke about today, and I think that's very important, is Dr. DeToro mentioned that attendance is very strong in all our schools, and the principals have been very happy. They have, things are being checked. Students do get checked about attendance. There's protocols in place, but honestly, they're doing well. So students are participating. Students are taking initiative, and so I think we're very proud of our students too for how they're managing the situation as well. Lisa, I wanted to mention a little bit about special services. Do you want to say anything, or would you like me to give a little update? I wanted you to talk about how that's moved from what you were doing to teletherapy. I think it's important for people to know if you
yes,
if you don't mind.
absolutely. Sure will.
Okay.
The Department of Special Services initially was not permitted by the Department of Ed to offer teletherapy in the form of occupational, physical, and speech therapy. And we're now able to do that. So every student is guaranteed a minimum of 1 session, and based on needs expressed by the case manager, increases are being made as our schedules become more fluid and firm. The reality is that you can see much less through teletherapy than you can in the school day, just based on the need to log on and make connections virtually. So child study teams are Zooming IEP meetings and all of our required IDEA meetings. Teachers are delivering individual instruction where it's required by IEPs. We're doing small group instruction, and we're doing related services. So we're doing the best to meet the spirit of IEPs and work collaboratively with our parents. We have a keen sense on social emotional development of all students within the district, working collaboratively with our guidance counselors and our building administrators. And while it will not remain a secret for long, my team has coined phase 4 as the great return, which we are already planning and anticipating.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Thanks to your team as well. Great job to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Prima, if I could,
Kim,
if I could just add to some of Mike's comments, one of the things that he didn't really touch on that much is the internal support that we're also providing to our faculty. And Ruth Davis's efforts to get out information, website, Dr. DeToro shared with the curriculum committee a site that Ruth has set up, I guess, and a bunch of people where there's a whole bunch of resources available to learn about the new tools. And of course, me being a 20th century technology person, there's a lot of resources there for me to learn, like Google Docs and things, but it's, there are so many layers of the support and interaction and collaboration that is making all this work. And, we can name individuals, but it really is a team effort across every person in the district. And it's something that we should really be very, very proud of. And it's unprecedented times, and we're doing unprecedented work.
Brett, you had something?
I did, yeah. I had a question for Dr. DeToro, if you don't mind. One of the frustration points from some parents I've been speaking to is managing expectations on a class-by-class, grade-by-grade basis. How do we do that from your office or from the principal's office to allow the parents to understand what their expectations should be, especially with the advent of Zoom? A lot of the questions I've been hearing from my circle of friends is, hey, I'm hearing one kid is having Zoom, my kid's not, and they're in the same grade. How do we manage those expectations, or how do we communicate that to the families in the district to say, hey, if you're in this specific grade, you should expect X number of Zooms, or if you're in this class in the high school, you should expect X number of Zooms. Is that something that's possible to be done, or is that on a teacher by teacher basis?
Great question. So as we went into phase 3, and again, this is only week 2 of that, we made it a priority to have live interactions. Now, remember, in phase 2, we were just dipping our toe in the water, so there were inconsistencies. Some teachers did it one time. Other teachers are like, I'm jumping all in. I'm going to try to be creative and do some new things. Obviously, the expectations were there of we want to incrementally expose our students. Now that we're in phase 3, there are expectations that are in lockstep across grade levels. So at the elementary level, the elementary teachers are doing Zooms at least 3 times a week. Those Zooms are focused on they're focused on questioning and answering and mini lessons. Now, I didn't get too granular into the instructional delivery, but allow me a minute just to explain. Across K through 12, teachers are pushing out video teaching. That's not Zoom. I'm not talking about live. I'm talking about the teachers are teaching mini lessons that the students can utilize as they're independently working. So those videos, they can start, stop, rewind. It's not time sensitive. That's something that they have access to through, whether it's through the email platform or through Google Classroom. And at the elementary level, if you want to go to our website, the elementary K2 teachers created slide decks for the students and embedded the videos into those decks that they can go back, the parents can go and check in with them. So there's that. I'm not going to say live, I'm going to say the teacher taped lessons as well as Zoom lessons. We talked to our administrators about giving the teachers the strategy of, if you push out the video lessons and any sort of resources and content, say, boys and girls, it's Monday, take a look at the video lessons. I'll be with you on Tuesday to answer any questions. We really wanted to do that partnership to avoid the millions of emails going back and forth and almost like a teaching through email type of dynamic. So if we're really strategic with our Zoom sessions, then it allows our students to feel as though, number one, they have a voice. Number two, they have that support in place, that they still have, their teacher there to help them along the way. But it's also partnered with that video teaching that they can go to, because if by chance I forgot to ask the question in the Zoom meeting, I still have that fallback resource. So that's the elementary setting. Now I say 3 because the elementary teachers obviously meet with their kids. They push out content every day for those subjects. At the secondary level, there's a different schedule. At the secondary level, we have a rotational schedule that classes don't meet sometimes 2 or 3 times in a week. At that level, they are Zooming one, if not half of, let me take it back. They're Zooming half of the time. So it's either video screencastify type of teaching that's happening and other resources, or live Zoom sessions. That's the baseline. That doesn't mean some teachers feel as though, this week I need to get more access with you guys, as opposed to you guys going off and working independently. I need you guys at the table. Now, when I was talking to Dr. Morthy today, please don't think that these Zoom sessions are lectures. That is not valuable time on Zoom. The Zoom sessions are really used as either mini lessons and Q&As, or secondary thing of just checking in with the students to see how they're doing. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Sometimes the most valuable time is having eyes on our students. to make sure that they're taking the time to make sure that they're having a healthy balance, they're navigating it okay, and again, they just see their teacher as they used to every single day.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Do you have anybody else? Any reports from anybody else? Good to go. Do you have any board member remarks or comments on any non-agenda items at this time? Yes, Mr. Copland.
I just want to piggyback on what Dr. Schoen said about Teacher Appreciation Week. I just want to thank our entire staff. They've coined the term Teacher Appreciation, but it really is the entire Staff Appreciation Week. I've been seeing a ton of pictures, videos, songs. If you're not following Jason Calhoun, I highly recommend it. It's extremely entertaining. The one with him throwing the baseball over his roof and catching was pretty good. But I just want to thank from my seat as a parent, as a board member as well, to thank everyone in this entire district for everything they're doing, not just during this time of the pandemic, but also beforehand. We are very much in a very, very special district, and it definitely shows through our staff. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kazmarski, did you have something?
Yeah, I guess, it's a little early in that it's only the beginning of May, but I guess a concern I have is beyond the whole graduation. The seniors lost an entire second half of their final part of their educational career in Mahwah. The calendar for the past God knows how many years, and this is, I see Roger on, it might go to him as well. The day school ends, it flips. The calendar flips. We're getting ready for the next year. And that includes sports, captain's practices, band, summer camps, summer education, all of these things that are automatically, they just go. And I guess the question is any thought or discussions are being had at any level of the state with regards to, let alone school starting next year in September in person, but the normal things that occur in summer on our campuses. And I know it's May 6th, but June 26th is coming up, a few weeks. And there's a lot of kids that, the seniors are gone, but there's a whole mess of kids coming up right behind them that are used to, they just go. And I guess the question is, are they going to go? And are there any plans or alternate plans being thought of for them?
Tim,
Dr.
if I may?
Sure.
Is there anything? Yeah.
One of the things that we're waiting from the governor is more direction as far as summer school programs are concerned and what that looks like on our campus. It's not only our campus, community in general, right? And I think you're asking for both, having the kids having something to do. So we're hoping to get that guidance relatively soon. And if we do, and when we do, we're going to include some of what it is we'll be able to do on our campus relative to summer programs, which will help. But we're waiting for that guidance, because right now, if I were to answer you, the answer is we can't do anything. Right. Because we're entirely closed. So once we get that guidance, then we will figure out as a team what we'll be able to do, and we'll communicate that as soon as we possibly can so that parents can plan.
Thank you.
It's not a matter of holding back, Ben. It's a matter of our hands are tied, just like the opening and not opening of our schools.
Understood.
But Ben, for right now, we're also talking about what are potential alternatives. So if we can't open, which we would love to open, what are some alternative means to, do things like ESY or our Title I summer school or, all of those other things. So
we're talking about it, Ben.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, may I have a motion to open the meeting to the public? Mr. Kazmarski, second by Mr. Coughlin. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, Ms. Barron, I have 2 questions that came in to the chat already, and I have one statement to read as well that I'd like to read into the record. Pardon me. First, a statement from Mr. Pelletier, Athletic Director. Thank you to Dr. Schoen and the Board of Education on considering the request. This in regards to the signage for the gymnasium. Placing the appropriate signage on the gymnasium will be a very great and essential upgrade to the facility. I believe the enhancement to the entrance to the campus will be tremendous in welcoming our student and guests. Thank you again. That again was from Mr. Pelletier. And then I have two questions that came in from the public. The first is from Janine Grasso, 5 Herring Lane. Question, kids on average are doing 2 to 3 hours of work. Why can we not increase to mimic a day, morning meeting, etc., each and every day? And then I have a second question. If you want to answer that, I have a second one that is also similar in nature. That question is from Mr. David May, 93 Owino Road. As a parent of an eighth grader, is the school working towards having a typical school day take place via Zoom, where each teacher will be teaching each day? Will homework level be increased?
Can I answer this?
Sure.
Okay. Ms. Grasso and I, we went back and forth over email with this specific question, and I understand what the question is. It's very unique because on one side, you have people who, let me go back to the survey. When we did the survey in phase 2, we asked about workload. So when we asked about the workload of the 684 parents, we asked if, was there not enough? It was a Likert scale, 1 to 5 to too much. We had 355 parents say that it was within the fair to just right area. We did have some parents. We did have 29 parents who said it was too much, and then we had 30 parents who said it wasn't enough. But the large population of our parents felt as though it was appropriate, and obviously we appreciate that feedback. It's a very complex question, to be quite honest with you. When you look at all the different variables, obviously, when we're talking about our quest to make sure that the kids are learning as much as possible, obviously, the longer that they're on, the more that they're going to learn. But that's one piece of a huge puzzle. There are a lot of things that are going on that are outside of our control in all of our households. And we would be irresponsible to think that we need to just get the kids onto the computer and do work from bell to bell, not understanding that parents are working, that all the different factors are going on with health, with employment, with stress, with devices, with access, with all the different variables that go into a comprehensive decision of what good instruction looks like remotely. So what I can say from my seat is having access to seeing what our students are doing from a K-12 continuum. I'm very confident that they're learning in a space that's appropriate for the time that we have right now. If we increase, we have just as many parents, which aren't a lot, just as many parents who are saying you need to decrease the amount of Zooms because it's hard to schedule my 3 students and my 2 devices, and the Zooms are locked in at a time. I can't have all my kids getting to these Zoom meetings while I'm working from home too. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to be respectful of and still keeping obviously the child at the forefront of our minds. So I do understand what Ms. Grasso is saying. I respect where she's coming from. And I'm glad that she asked it just so I can put out there all the different layers of what we have to do to decide on what's appropriate and effective for our kids at the K-12 level.
Excellent answer, Mike.
Thank you. Anything else, Kyle?
No, Ms. Barron. No other questions came in through the chat.
Mr. Ferguson's question wasn't answered.
I don't have anything from Mr. Ferguson. Mr. May did send someone. Again, it was similar with Ms. Grasso's, but I will reread it again if there's a part that wasn't well responded to. As a parent of an 8th grader, is the school working towards having a typical school day take place via Zoom, where each teacher will be teaching each day? Will homework level be increased?
I guess the homework question part wasn't answered.
At this time, we are not looking to change our schedule at the secondary level. We have the sessions that are taking place on a rotational basis. for our teachers and for our administrative team. And again, to go back to our survey, we feel it's appropriate and fits the needs of what we have to do instructionally along the lines of the Zoom every day. Please know that instruction's happening outside of that live interaction. Not only are they, again, they're using it as Q&As, but if students need that assistance, they're also interacting with their teachers via email, and teachers are addressing any supports that are needed. If by chance a student does need support and doesn't feel like they're getting that support, I do urge the student or the family to reach out to either the teacher or the administrator, and we are completely flexible that we will make sure that that student gets clarity and support that they need.
Kyle, it's Evelyn Slockbarrow, 43 Dunderhead Place. I just had a question about the students being able to return items. So the students who will be returning in the fall, will they be keeping things that needed to be returned to the school, and just the seniors, since the school is closed, having to return the school belongings?
May I, Ms. Barron?
Oh, yes, please.
Hello, Mrs. Lockbauer. I hope your family is well.
We're doing okay.
Excellent. I'm happy to hear that. Our principals will be developing a schedule, working with their staff and with parents, and they will communicate what the drop-off of any type of materials look like, in addition to students who may need to go into school to pick up some personal items. That will be forthcoming, we anticipate, in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Kyle?
Mr. Ferguson has his hand up. I don't see anything coming in, though. Mr. Ferguson?
Sure, I just want to make sure I was there to thank everybody. Thanks for all you're doing. Thanks to the teachers, obviously, and for my girls, things are going great. Just a quick comment from the township. We extended the grace period for tax payment in Q2 30 days to June 1st. Q2 at this point, from what I've heard from our CFO, looks okay. The concern is Q3 tax payments. I encourage the school district to start thinking about what that looks like if tax payments are down considerably based on people not making their mortgage payments and collection being down. There's no crystal ball saying what that looks like at this point, but it's just something I want you guys to be aware of and think about when Q3 rolls around. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay healthy.
You too.
Okay, that seemed to be everything, Kyle?
No others, Ms. Barron.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion to close to the public. Ms. Conoco, second by Mr. Gallo. Okay, I would like to take old business. May I have a motion to move on that? Ms. Conoco, second by Mr. Denise. Could you take roll call, please, Kyle?
Yes, of course. Mr. Kazmarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conoco,
Yes.
Dr. Morthy,
Yes.
Ms. Saccone,
Yes.
Mr. Copland,
Yes.
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
and Ms. Barron.
Yes. Now I have new business A through Y. May I have a motion to proceed on that? Mr. Gallo, second by Dr. Morthy.
Can we pull V out separately?
Let's see, what is D? Maybe
B,
B.
the signage.
The sign.
The signage. Sure.
V is in Victor. Okay.
Yes.
B.
Can we
B is
also
in
pull 14A as well? I think that's a pretty big one we should vote on separately.
14A, superintendent's rules on the budget. All right, let's pull A and V out. So we'll be voting on A through Y, B through Y, and excluding V at the moment. Okay,
Do we have the motion in the second for that?
we did. It was Ms. Conoco, second, I think, second by Dr. Morthy,
Yes.
I believe. Okay.
Roll call for B through Y, excluding V. Mr.
Correct.
Kazmarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conoco,
Yes.
Dr. Morthy,
Yes.
Ms. Saccone,
Yes.
Mr. Copland,
Yes.
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
and Ms. Barron.
Yes. So now may I have a motion to proceed on 14A? Mr. Copland, second by Mr. Gallo. Would you please take roll call on 14A?
Okay. Mr. Kizmarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conoco,
Yes.
Dr. Morthy,
Yes.
Ms. Saccone,
Yes.
Mr. Copland,
Yes.
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
and Ms. Barron.
Yes. Now I would like to have a motion to proceed on 14V as in Victor.
Can we move this as the body of the whole? Anyone? Yeah?
I guess,
Anyone have any objections to doing so?
no.
Kyle, parliamentarian, is that okay?
Everybody's good? Okay, Kyle, could you take roll
Very
call, please?
Mr. Kizmarski,
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Conoco,
Yes.
Dr. Morthy,
Yes.
Ms. Saccone,
Yes.
Mr. Copland,
Yes, it's long overdue.
Amen.
Mr. De Silva,
Absolutely. I'm happy to see it.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
and Ms. Barron.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you very much, everyone.
And I would make a quick request on that. If the Finance and Facilities Committee could review the proposed lettering and hopefully lighting, and hopefully they're very large letters.
The rendering has already been put together. I was just waiting. Roger and I have been speaking today along with John. So we'll be sending that out to you tomorrow for review.
Make it 20% bigger than you have it now.
We have permits we have to get. It can't.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
so long as you
Kizner.
can say, we can see it from space.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right, I have new business 15A through X. May I have a motion to proceed on that? Ms. Zaccone, second by Mr. De Silva. Do we have any comments on any of those items?
Yeah, I'd like to, real quick, on 15A, wish Ms. Pim a long and healthy and productive retirement. One of my daughters had her in 5th grade and absolutely adored her, and she just had a great year. We loved having her. And 15B, congratulations to the non-tenured staff coming back.
Yeah.
I just have one comment. It sort of echoes what I had said at the last meeting. Back in March, in the olden days, Linda and I had gone into the office and Dennis and had set up the non-tenured reviews. And I just want to remind people how hard it is to keep a job in Mahwah. We have a very rigorous evaluation process that is dutifully completed. Some of the evaluators are on our meeting today, and they should be thanked for their diligence and for the care that they take to make sure that Mahwah students are served by the best teachers available.
Thank you very much.
Roll call for 15A through X. I had a motion by Ms. Saccone and a second by Mr. De Silva. Mr. Kizmarski,
Yes.
Ms. Conoco,
Yes.
Dr. Morthy,
Yes.
Ms. Saccone,
Yes.
Mr. Copland,
Yes.
Mr. De Silva,
Yes.
Mr. Denise,
Yes.
Mr. Gallo,
Yes.
and Ms. Barron.
Yes. Okay, we do not have any executive session. Reopening, just a quick question, we're opening the meeting to the public? No, we didn't do the questions at the beginning. Okay, thank you. May I have then a motion to adjourn? Mr. Gallo, second by Mr. De Silva. Thank you all very much. Another
Good seeing everyone.
wonderful meeting.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good to see you.
Safe.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.